So this is Necromancy, to die for. And first of all, the Rothschilds, the rulers of the West, put a curse on me, which was I'd be crushed like a flea and my ramblings would have no effect on reality. So they wanted to erase all of my psychic powers and crush me like a flea. So we look at the curse. A curse is expressed wishes for misfortune to befall someone, a place, or an object. Now, words have power, as we explained in the last one. And here we go on to Wikipedia. A curse, also called an imprecation, malediction, execration, malison, anathema, or commination. I didn't like the last one, commination. That's good. Is any expressed wish that some form of adversity or misfortune will befall or attach to one or more persons, a place, or an object. In particular, curse may refer to such a wish or pronouncement made effective by a supernatural or spiritual power, such as a god, in this case the Elohim, that used to inhabit the Rothschild, Rockefeller royal family filth with the black noble families before they all got Omega-hellized, and are now simply walking, talking gateways to Omega Hell, broadcasting death, torture, damnation to everyone that is part of their group. That's the entire Western filth. A spirit or a natural force, or else any kind of spell by magic, usually black magic or witchcraft. In the latter sense, a curse can be called a hex or a jinx. In many belief systems, the curse itself or accompanying ritual is considered to have some causative force in the result. And I say the Elohim set up my entire life just to bleed me dry. So my first friend at primary school was called Anthony Jinx. To reverse or eliminate a curse is sometimes called removal or breaking, as the spell has to be dispelled and often requires elaborate rituals or prayers. So you can see that the Rothschilds are the foremost cursors on the planet. So the an FBI whistleblower, you can see him on the People's Voice TV, let the information out in, what was it, early, start of the 90s, that the Rothschild, Rockefeller royal family filth had stolen 100 trillion, and that they were torturing 6 million at the time, people with various means, which is microwave, following them around, poisoning them, beating them up, etc., etc. That's why I had to build a steel room in Brighton, and that's why I'm going to make sure the UK is totally destroyed with the West. Unfortunately, we've got a coward as president, Trump, so the war with Iran, which we desperately need to cover the West with Cobalt-60, he's bottled out of it. So thankfully, the brave Israelis will start the war and make sure that the West is covered in Cobalt-60. Thank God for Israelis. If they weren't Israelis, the silent would have to make them up. And here's microwave, you microwave them, mind games. Say in the train we had, what, 500 plus Russian filth, Navalny supporters, spraying bioweapon and tags for the satellites to kill me, and about 100 thugs desperate to beat me to death, because of course they weren't told I'm a jihadi Muslim, and I just looked forward to slaughtering Russian fifth columnists filth like dogs with my extremely large knives. So, as I say, the 100 plus thugs have vanished, haven't they, cameraman?
Yeah.
I know. I was desperately unhappy about that. Wanted to kill me, some of them. 6 or 7. Anyway, Targeted individuals are victims of government weaponization selected by the deep state, usually FBI, DHS or CIA, to unwillingly participate in an experimental CIA torture program. 75% of victims do not realize they are targeted. This program was developed under the CIA's MKUltra project. But now, of course, every member of the DHS, CIA, FBI, etc. is being targeted by psychic warfare and killed by it. And all of their deaths are caused by psychic warfare. So it's surveillance, harassment and sabotage by unknown agents. Luckily I'm in Vietnam, where the Rothschilds, royal family and Rockefellers are targeted individuals, and yours truly is simply beaching and counting his money. Because I say, if the Rothschild, Rockefeller royal family was so powerful, then how come I'm laughing at them and doing these videos? You've got to ask the question, these are the supreme beings on the planet, cameraman, and therefore, if you go after them, they will crush you like a flea and your ramblings will have no effect on reality. But obviously, they're bullshitters, and the most powerful people on the planet are not the most powerful people on the planet. They're simply my torture toys. If they weren't, I simply wouldn't be around, would I, cameraman? Certainly not beaching and counting my money. Beering soon. So here's all the information. So you can see that the Rothschilds are the lowest form of filth, but we've got, what, 10,000 satellites flying over the train, desperately trying to fry me from space, all thanks to Elon Musk and the Rothschild Rockefellers that fund him. And of course, since I've got no tags on me, I haven't been kill-shotted or gone to the dentist and got tag-shotted. There's no tags on me, so you can see satellites are worthless unless you're carrying around your mobile torture device, which is your mobile phone, so they can burn you alive. Or else you're covered in tags, which they've sprayed on you. So you simply avoid and microwave your clothing, which means that the Rothschilds become my torture toys with the Rockefellers and the royal family. That's why, of course, I'm slowly cancerizing Charles to death, simply as the show victim explaining that that's coming to you very soon. Elon, Rothschild, Rockefeller and the rest of the royal family. And of course Middleton's out of cancer, dead allegedly, and we've got a body double like Kanye. Thousands of people complain of being subjected to neuroweapons that cause brain damage, pain, tinnitus, hearing voices and mental manipulation. Gang stalking, real-life harassment or textbook paranoia. So as you can see, this might work on Western filth that are gutless, but trying to gang stalk a jihadi Muslim who's one step away from murdering them doesn't work. And of course, the Rothschild, Rockefeller royal family don't want the publicity of 6 or 7 thugs found with no eyes and fully lobotomized by having 9-inch blades through their eyes, attacking a poor little 67-year-old British pensioner who's under sentence of death by the Ukrainians because he's silently protecting Vladimir Putin, who also has been sentenced to death by the Rothschilds. You might wonder, why am I with Vladimir Putin? Well, the Rothschilds want to torture him to death and the Rothschilds want to torture me to death. And they want both our ramblings to have no effect on reality. So as you can see, the Rothschilds made a fatal mistake. Anyway, so we can see that the Rothschilds are behind all of this. There were 6 million at the start of the 90s, so now we've got at least 5.7 billion kill-shotted who are all being tortured to death. So the numbers have gone up. You've probably got 6 billion now, plus. But why are we going through this? Well, because of course it's Sochavanov. Sochavanov did experiments on dowsing where a dowser could give his dowsing power to a non-dowser, which Colin Bloy couldn't douse but he got a famous British dowser to give him the power, and after that he was a brilliant dowser and didn't need rods, he could simply do it with his hands. Sochivanov number 1, you can give something to someone else, a psychic power. But conversely, we've got the satanic Sochivanov, which of course is the same as Sochivanov, but it's converse. So if you can give people psychic powers, you can take away psychic powers, or give them a curse. So Sochivanov number 2, hating cynics can wipe out dowsing or any other psychic power. So dowsers can't douse when they've got someone like me, a total hater, just beaming hatred at them, which renders their dowsing worthless. But the satanic Sochivanov, if like myself you're a total hater and you're absolutely cruel, totally ruthless, then of course all of the psychic powers of your enemies are Sochivanov number 2. They're erased. Their ramblings have no effect on reality. And they can't crush me like a flea, because I totally hate. So all you love and like vermin who want to turn the other cheek and love your torturer like Jesus Christ on the cross, you're all FUCK'd. Why? Because you're not using satanic Sochivanov number 2. And of course, satanic Sochivanov number 3 is the converse of Sochivanov number 3, where Sochivanov, this Ruski, connected a group of dowsers together to see if their dowsing became more efficient, more accurate, when they were joined together in a group. And he found out, no, all of the poor dowsers' ability was raised to the level of the best dowser, but the group as a whole simply had the dowsing ability of the best dowser. So, psi is not a group sport. It is a qualitative, not quantitative power, in that the most powerful metapsychic, a metapsychic has many psychic powers: dowsing, remote viewing, precognition, telekinesis, psychokinesis, which in my definition is the ability to change realities by jumping timelines, vampirism, and a whole host of others, all of which I can do. I'm the best at. Full stop. Which means that everyone else is irrelevant. The American psychic warfare program, irrelevant. And now, of course, thanks to the American and Western filth giving me CERN, all the Borg, synchronizing them to collapse the quantum wave function in real time, 24/7, thanks to White Rabbit and the quantum computers I've sequestered, with the AIs I've sequestered, to produce techno psi. My powers have become multiversal, because of course we bring in all the facilities from all the Earths with CERN, and then we start taking over all the alien technology that use the same, all taken over away, because the more powerful I get, the more I can take over. The more powerful I get, the more I can take over. The more powerful I get, the more I can take over. The more powerful I get, the more I can take over. So as you can see, I become more and more and more powerful, to the point where the alien filth simply return to what they are, matrix vermin, and all the light stolen from them, and they're simply trapped in my matrix, where they're tortured to produce new light, new Higgs field. All the physics of, well, how can a matrix entity produce real life light? Well, you never know, because the equations for that are mine and mine alone. Why, Tim? Because I use L'Oreal and I'm worth it, and you lot aren't. Now, as one can see, when it comes to cursing, the Rothschilds were well ahead of me, because they were running this torture state. And remember, the British were microwaving whole streetfuls of Catholics, and everyone in each house was getting a rare form of cancer, which a doctor only see once in his lifetime, and everyone in each house was getting one of these rare cancers. Now, of course, they get these rare cancers thanks to the kill shots. And, of course, the swabs up the nose, and the chemtrails, and the dirty food, and the 5G and 4G. So, you can see the Rothschilds were the premier cursors. And, of course, one such of Arnold number 3. So, we can't have that. Anything the Rothschild owns is my property. Why? Because I Jew them. I'm the super Jew. And they're just death goat Jews. So I had to steal this power cursing, because the Rothschilds were top of the tree at cursing. And of course, not having that, I want it, Rothschilds. Give it to me, Rothschilds. So of course the Rothschilds were stupid enough. Let's look at the Rothschilds. So this is the piece of filth that used to be the Emperor of the West before I killed him, and for YouTube, remotely manipulated him to only get help. We like remote manipulation on YouTube, don't we? Yes, yes, yes. If in doubt, remotely manipulate anyone in sight. So, remotely manipulating a Rothschild a day keeps the doctor away, because these are the people that fund and run this worldwide torture program, which now has gone from 6 million in 1990 to well over 6 billion in 2025. So as you can see, these are the people that funded the Department of Defense with their alien masters, and there's an alien in this was, before it was remotely manipulated into Abigail. This thing was, with its wife, did the curse, gonna crush me like a flea, and my ramblings will have no effect on reality. So it got into a zero-sum game. It was tricked into giving its cursing power away to me, because it was top of the tree in terms of cursing power. And we can't let little Rothschilds have the ultimate cursing power, because the silo wants it. Why? Because he's an only child and he wants everything. He wants to be king of the castle, and everyone has to be a dirty rascal, except me, because I'm worth it. I use L'Oreal. So let's go to the other, the sow that was running the British Tory party, wife of the Emperor of the West. And of course we got Serena Rothschild. I call her Selena Rothschild because, as I say, all Rothschilds look the same to me. All sows look like sows, and I don't bother remembering their names. S stands for sow, doesn't it? There we are. We've got a sow Rothschild, also killed by the silo. And for YouTube, to make it YouTube friendly, remotely manipulated to won't make a hell. The silo likes remotely manipulating any female Rothschild in sight. Female Rothschild, I'm going to remotely manipulate you. Why? Well, because I like practicing psychic BDSM on Rothschild. Forget about the bullwhip. Let's use the whip of fire from the Kabbalah. As I say, the only good female Rothschild is a Rothschild that's been having the whip of fire used on it. And then, of course, you can use the handle for every orifice. Without the lube, of course, because we're into BDSM, aren't we? We want them screaming. Anyway, these two vermin, the Emperor and Empress of the West, who fund the Tory party, and we've explained before, David de Rothschild paid for the pedo Andrew's daughter's Beatrice's wedding, all shown to me by one of Vladimir Putin's people in Brighton. So we know that the royal family are in bed with the Rothschilds, and in fact married a Rothschild. Say Middleton is a goldsmith, and we know the goldsmiths are off-branch of the Rothschilds. Hence, of course, Iris Goldsmith, crushed like a flea, her ramblings having no effect on reality, having a goldsmith father and a Rothschild mother. So, they got into the cursing game with yours truly, not realising the moment that they did the curse on me, they were destroyed. Why, Tim? They're the most powerful couple in the West. Well, they're dead now, so they're obviously not powerful. And I'm unleashing psychic warfare on the entire West, so obviously they've got no power whatsoever. They're just my torture toys. Here, of course, is future remote manipulation victim, Nathaniel Rothschild. Look at that gormless dork. As I say, it's like remotely manipulating babies, isn't it? He's got the IQ of a baby that's had its 76 immunizations and is super autistic. Just look at that gormless piece of scum. Anyway, all of these are victims or remotely manipulated into omega hell victims who've been tricked into a satanic contract. When you curse someone, they of course get into a zero-sum game with you because you have to accept the curse. Yours truly, of course, can't be cursed because he's a total hater. And why are you a total hater? Well, I'm a Muslim, and of course, what's the defining point of a total Muslim? Our only surefire way of going to heaven is remotely manipulating infidels in the process. So we're the perfect curse-proof race if we are willing for martyrdom. So as you can see, the Rothschilds never had a chance against me because having used psychic warfare to slaughter many, many, many infidels, which we explained in the last videos, I'm already there. I'm in that state of total hatred where cursing just does not work on yours truly. I'm curse-proof. Why are you curse-proof, Tim? Because I'm in the train, beaching, counting my money, I'm about to drink Viet Duck, and all of my enemies are remotely manipulated and either in the grave or like Charles, on the way to the grave, or like all of America, on the way to the grave when the brave Israelis attack Iran and make sure that America's covered in cobalt-60. Thank God for Israelis. As you can see, that gutless piece of shit, Trump, is getting in the way of covering America in cobalt-60. What's the world coming to when an American president doesn't do what his Israeli masters tell him to do? Get going, Trump. Start bombing Iran. You know it makes sense. And of course, if you don't believe that the Rothschilds have cursed 6 billion people, then here's a little news snippet. Wuhan virologist testifies Fauci created COVID as a bioweapon to kill millions and slowly kill billions. So if you've had your kill shot, your life has been ended prematurely. So as you can see, that ability to curse most of the human race to a horrific slow death or quick death if you die in 48 hours from the kill shots means that the Rothschilds, who are behind all this with the Rockefellers, were top of the tree in cursing. And of course, there is absolutely no way that the Psylord is letting the Rothschild Rockefellers, royal family, keep the ultimate cursing power. And how did he steal it? By getting them to try and curse him. I'm curse-proof, which means right from the start, the curse backfired on you. And all we needed then was the death force to make it 100%. And there's another snippet, that gutless Trump stopped the war between India and Pakistan, which started on May the 10th when Nostradamus, the Jew boy, said apocalypse would start. And here we are, Donald Trump sticking his nose in and stopping a nuclear winter from happening with a full-scale nuclear exchange between India and Pakistan. As I tell you, this man is beginning to irritate me. Cut. And again, Trump cuts ties with Netanyahu. As I say, Trump should know his place. He's Goy and should be taking his orders from the brilliant, brave Netanyahu that's defending the free world against Iran. So as you can see again, Trump is not playing fairly. It looks like he doesn't want to turn black. He looks like he's a racist. As I say, I was going to turn Trump black with the Cobalt 60, but it looks like he's not keen. So, we know now that Trump is a racist. Trump, you have to turn black. Obey Netanyahu, attack Iran. You know it makes sense. Now, Tim, aren't you bullshitting? You've stolen the cursing power of the Rothschild, Rockefeller royal family. Yes, I have. Why? Because Jacob Rothschild was a bull git and couldn't use L'Oreal. And we know that zero-sum games are sealed by death. So if the curse kills a Rothschild, then that means, or in this case, for YouTube friendly, we're being YouTube friendly, remotely manipulates her into Omega Hell, then of course it's the curse is locked back on the originator, and the power to do the ultimate cursing is Jude and given to the super Jew, the total super Jew, the Israel's Messiah, the Sidle. And remember, I didn't just steal the cursing, I stole all the powers of the Rothschilds, who of course set up Israel and were the owners and rulers of the West. Which means now that every single Westerner is remotely influenced as well as remotely manipulated by me, and everything they do in life is totally controlled by me. And how did you get the power to do that? Oh, from the Rothschild, Rockefeller royal family who was stupid enough to get to a zero-sum game with me, and by satanic Sochivanov, which is the converse of Sochivanov. If Sochivanov number 3 means that everyone is irrelevant in psi. And remember what we've explained, the imbecile physicists have discovered that the conscious field collapses the quantum wave function. And it doesn't collapse the quantum wave function. So you've got quantum world collapses reality. No, it's continuously happening. So the quantum wave function is continuously collapsing and being manipulated by the conscious field. Therefore, what are we stealing from the Rothschilds? We are stealing from the Rothschilds the conscious field to do the ruling, the cursing, the controlling, which of course is remotely influencing an entire Western empire, plus many other parts of the world. And of course being able to torture to death slowly and remotely manipulate them to their Gehenna hell, 6 billion plus people. Now of course Borg. And of course the power to become the richest family on the planet. Why are you going to become super rich, Tim? Well, simply put, once all the billionaires, after Charles's unfortunate, horrible death from cancer, start dying like flies, they'll be flying into the train, or wherever I am in this neck of the woods, begging to give me billions to be protected from this awful technology that's remotely manipulating them and their families. So it doesn't take long to become a trillionaire when all the billionaires on the planet, apart from Vladimir Putin, who is protected for free. Why is he protected for free, Tim? Because he's one of the people the Rothschilds promised they'd crush like a flea, his ramblings would have no effect on reality. So, of course, he covers my back and I cover his back, because we've got a common enemy. Who's the common enemy, Tim? The Rothschilds, who rule the West. So, as you can see, why I'm not in the West, because it wouldn't be comfortable for me in the West, would it, cameraman? Certainly not. But in Vietnam, I'm protected to the gazoo. The Vietnamese are going out of their way to protect me. When I went to Cambodia for my visa, the Cambodians were protecting me to the gazoo. All thanks to Xi Jinping, who flew into Vietnam and Cambodia prior to my little visa run. So you can see, why do you protect Xi Jinping? Because he protects me too. And of course, he wants to be protected because they were giving him cancer with remote manipulation. And of course, he was on the Rothschild targeted list because they want to balkanize China like they want to balkanize Russia. Remember, China was invaded and taken over by the Europeans, and the British were forcibly importing and exporting opium into China and using the British Navy to inflict catastrophic harm on the Chinese and rule the South China Sea. So you can see there's been a deep and abiding hatred of the Chinese from the British Empire, which of course was ruled by the Rothschilds and the royal family. And America's always been under the control of the Rockefellers, who are the lieutenants of the Rothschilds. Now, with this, how do we get all the power from the Rothschilds? Well, with Sochivanov, number 3, only the most powerful matters, the rest are irrelevant. Okay, if you've got a whole group, you could then do multiple operations using that power level. So you can, if you've got 10 dowsers at the best dowser's power level, then they can douse for 10 things. But since I'm 5-dimensional, I don't need anyone else, because being 5-dimensional, it's irrelevant. If being 5-dimensional, you can do everything at once. But of course, we need the death sacrifice of this little Sowlet. Mother's a Rothschild, father's a goldsmith, to seal the deal. And remember, we sealed the deal 5 years ago. And guess who's been in Vietnam since 2019? Yours truly. So you can see the game was up, the war won way back. I've just been toying with them MI5 with the Judases, who were going to try and fit me up as a drug dealer, conning money out of my clients to give to the Turkish friend of Porky Pig, Nick, and of course the sow, Jennifer Angiri, was had a benefit stock for 6 months, and they were going to fling her in jail unless she went on the rampage, stealing money from my clients to allegedly fund the Turk who was Nick's friend, and he was both run by MI5, and stick all the Class A drugs and the furniture that Nick was storing on Duncan's farm. See how it all fits together. We got Vinny the courier coming over to Vietnam so we can communicate together, so he can be thought of as the courier for this whole operation. So you can see how MI5 had set the scene for a big sting. Unfortunately, of course, didn't stand a chance because the war was over 5 years ago when this little Sowlet was killed. Now, if you're a vampire, you really, really need, because you want to join my group, don't you? And we're using satanic Sochivanov number 3, which means that if one wants to not give powers but take away everything, to the point where all that's left in the victim is their a walking, talking Omega Hellite shell, their soul, spirit, consciousness in Omega Hell, and their vessel is simply a gateway to unleash Omega Hell on everyone and everybody around them, satanic because we're taking it to its limit, to source level, then of course this was the inception point, the death force. Why is it so important? Well, in physics, the probability of an event happening equals 1 divided by E to the power of action. Action is energy divided by time. So we need either the energy to be 0, and E to a 0 is 1, 1 divided by 1 gives you a probability of 1, which makes 100%. Or, if you want loads of energy, you need the time to be very, 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 very large, because the larger the time, which is dividing the energy, then that exponent approaches 0, and any e to the 0 is 1. So you need the time to be as large as possible. And how would you get the time to be as large as possible? You open up the gateway to the 5th dimension, that wheel, that tunnel of light. And when does that happen, cameraman? When do you enter the tunnel of light, cameraman? We got Joshy to help the dumb cameraman. So when is it, cameraman?
When we die.
When we die. Thank you, cameraman. As you can see, the cameraman needs all the help he can get. So we've got Joshy here, whispering in his ear. So, to make an event 100%, you need to get into the death event. So we've just explained from the physics point of view why you need sacrifice to make psychic phenomena 100%. This means, of course, once the curse, remotely manipulated into Omega Hell, Iris Goldsmith, the game was up. This means, of course, this is the most important video for all vampires. Why? Because this is a gateway to all the powers of the Rothschild for you. That, I would think, is the Rothschild sow mother. And of course, what you need to do is go into the picture, as we explained, and rip out all the good stuff from the little Sauder, and rip out all the good stuff from the Rothschild sow mother. Got it in your right hand now. That's good, thank you. And of course, we're going to show this entire video because this is the most important video on the planet. This is your gateway to gaining all of the psychic powers of the Rothschilds. Wealth, remote influencing, cursing, and for that, of course, you need a Rothschild service. If you haven't got one, you're out of luck. Saw with William Rothschild, who of course wasn't a Rothschild because he had a $1 million home and a car collection so valuable that the leading car museum in America had cars from him. So he's just your normal run-of-the-mill Jew, like this normal run-of-the-mill Jew. All the Jews live like this, don't they? I think they do, according to the media. tell you what Lucifer's doing to her, but as I say, for YouTube, it's not friendly with this hardcore BDSM stuff, is it? So we're not going to mention what Lucifer does to her continually. We've got the trees, which are needed to link to the 7 different universes, multiverses, megaverses of the interdimensionals to make everything real. So thankfully the Rothschild goldsmith filth have done the entire ritual of inception to give me all the power of the Rothschild, Rockefeller's royal family, and the Elohim that use them as walk-ins. So you can see the sting in the tail. The Elohim were trying to torture me to death or get me to suicide via the Rothschild walk-ins, not realizing that the Elohim were omega-hellized upon the death of this little salad. So they've done all the timelines where I'm always tortured to death in the facility or suicide, and there's no way out. But of course, remember we told you the chaos filth can't see everything, because with non-linear dynamics, unless you perfectly define the inception protocols entering into finite-bound period doubling, you get the butterfly effect. And it goes all right. So you continue needing Neos to correct, which is Gödel's incompleteness theorem, which we explained at great length. I don't think any of you still understand, because you're all morons. Well, it don't need to understand, do you? You don't need to understand how an iPad can be built from scratch. You can simply use it, because you're all morons. I can build an iPad from scratch because I'm a super genius. But you can see with sites the same thing. Building it from scratch is not in your ball court, never will be. But you can simply buy all the services which are ready to use, because I like building them from scratch. Why? Well, because it's my hobby. Well, I have something to do, apart from beaching and counting my money, developing psi and reality physics, and of course deploying it worldwide to crush all the Westerners like fleas and make sure their ramblings have no effect on reality. Has NATO won the war in Ukraine? I think not. Has Iran given up its nuclear weapons program? I think not. Has China given up on Taiwan, and we've got American bases on Taiwan ready to strike China? I think not. Has the American military beaten the Houthis? No, I don't think so. No. They lost 3 planes off a carrier and dozens of drones. So no, the mighty American military isn't beating the Houthis. Why not? Well, their ramblings have no effect on reality. See? If the American military can't beat the Houthis, then it doesn't bode well for the war against Iran, does it? I think not. Anyway, the tree's vital to get all the druidic stuff and link up to the 7 dark energy matter universes, multiverses, megaverses, which then means you get the whole shebang. You get reality physics, which is explained in the new Spatialize video, which we'll show you a little clip from later.